Okay, so I'll start by introducing you, Jon.
Okay.
So my name's Nina. I'm hosting this session, and I'll be handing over to Jon just in a moment. But first, I'd just like to say a few words about him. So he's been practicing Tai Chi for 18 years, and before that, various different forms of martial art since you were 18. So a big part of his life. So he's also an acupuncturist, been an acupuncturist for 18 years, and has also tutored on acupuncture courses, and is a clinical supervisor for final year students. And he has emphasised in the few words he sent me that he's very keen on learning, and from teachers around the world. So I'll hand over to you now, Jon.
Okay, thank you. So I can't see you all. I'm just doing this from my phone, so I haven't actually got a grid view. But if you could maybe, in some shape or form, just to say if you've got any experience of Tai Chi or Qigong.
A tiny bit.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm a yoga teacher, but I haven't done Tai Chi or Qigong.
So you should be pretty embodied then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So what my plan is today is to just run through a series of what we call joint loosening exercises or joint opening exercises. Essentially, if we're looking at the shoulder, to release the tissues around the shoulder and have a sensation, a feeling of more spaciousness, more openness, and potentially a little bit of stretch. But that's not necessarily a stretch through range of movement. That's like just the tissue is elongating on the inside, which is a prerequisite for Tai Chi and Qigong practice. So we'll do that first, and then my intention is to go through a foundational Qigong form that I teach that prepares beginners for arranging their structure, their skeleton, their bones in the correct way, with a non-forcing, without effort, hopefully, not forcing stuff, and also just getting the mind into the body, and particularly the muscles turning off, relaxing, releasing, so we can engage what's in and around them, the fascia, or it's the best idea of what is referred to as the channels when I'm needling people. So we'll do all of that, and maybe intersperse that with some standing meditation as well. Okay, but if there are any queries or whatever along the way, in some form, just shout. Okay, so immediately getting the mind into the hip, into that inguinal area, that meeting of the leg and the body. I'm standing on the other leg, so I'm free of weight in this leg, and I'm trying to be vertical, so all of my weight can just cascade down to the body, down to the standing leg, and I start to circle my knee, but with the goal of articulating the hip. So I'm rotating the knee, articulating the hip, and feeling the hip. So none of what we do is on automatic. We're constantly kind of on manual, checking in, feeling in, listening to what's going on. I'm also starting to ask my muscles to release in my leg, around my hip, in the lower back. Try the other side. And that's going to be the prerequisite. Asking the muscles to relax while you mobilize, open the joints. So you can see my arms are just kind of moving where they need to move. I'm not trying to hold the body. It's pretty loose. And the mind is here. And then you can go slower. Feel the range of movement. Or you can do this kind of speed and you feel like you're shaking the muscle off the bone a little bit as well. Okay. So for a lot of what we do, we need a trinity of support, of connection from the feet through the knees and the hips. So a hip, knee, foot alignment, feeling like they're connected up in a vertical alignment. So when I bend my knees, by relaxing in my hips, I bend and unlock the knees go in the same direction as the toes. So rather than knocking in, or if the feet were out, the knees are definitely going to knock in. So we want the toes forwards and just unlock the knees. That's for a lot of the practice. Okay, put your hands on your pelvis and start to circle the hips around the feet. And just feeling your way around the feet. And as you're doing that, just to explain further, you know, we as Tai Chi and Qigong practitioners, we use and invest quite heavily in the idea of Qi. Let's go the other way. So it's not about trucking loads of a particular substance around the body. It's more about creating space in the body so that can happen pretty much on its own, then with a little bit of kind of mental intention. But we want the body to have a feeling of freedom and spaciousness. Okay. Putting the hands onto the back of the waist, just like they're touching the kidney area, and then circle again, but at that level. Of course, the hips will move, but now you start to feel your way around a circling in the lumbar vertebrae, within a soft range, within a soft limit. And go the other way. So this warm-up, by the way, I do it every morning at the moment online for free. Just tune in if you like this. 8:30 every weekday morning. If you want my Zoom details, I'm sure we can get them to you. Okay. And then a third circling with the tailbone. So this time the tail stays in between the feet, and a small circle in that space between the feet, that you're dropping a plumb line down from your tailbone, which is relaxing hopefully, and you're circling it so the pelvis has to articulate, the hips have to be used. Either way. Okay. And then the hips will move a little bit, but you're going to get a little bit more movement through the middle of the spine and then the upper spine. But at the moment, I'm just going to keep my head facing forwards. Like the body's turning underneath the head, which feels quite still. And I'm just letting the arms swing. I'm not doing arm movements. I'm moving the body, letting the spine start to articulate and relax the shoulders. Even feeling maybe a lengthening in the arms all the way through to the fingers. Letting go in the shoulder girdle. And then if you feel like that's loose enough, you can start to look behind. So we get a different rotation through the spine. Okay, and just shifting it slightly this time to move from foot to foot. So I shift to my left foot and tap my left shoulder, just like the outside of the shoulder. So now we're starting to open up the shoulder blades in the sense that they're moving. Like now, this is moving away from the spine Just a little stretch to the upper back, very gentle though. And there's a little stretch around the side of the leg there. And the other hand is just tapping lightly at the back and on the kidney area. So is this true? I don't know, but most Tai Chi practitioners are saying that that tapping on the kidney area is kind of waking the kidneys up, or having an effect that could kind of balance the adrenals a little bit. Is that true? I don't know. Okay. Cool. So then we go into the shoulder girdle a little bit more. So I'm just going to lift up the shoulders, roll them back, and then sit them down. So it's just up, over, and sit down. Up, over, and sit down. So lifting the shoulders, try not to crunch the muscles, just get a range of movement. Have a sense that the shoulder blades can slide up the ribs, slide down. And up, and I let go. I let the weight of my shoulders, the meat of the shoulders, go to gravity. One more. And then the other way. So up, over, forwards, and let them go again. Over, forwards, and let them go. You might start to be becoming aware of the breath as the body lifts a little bit, so you might breathe in and just let the breath go as well. Okay. Just put the hands on top of the shoulders if you can. If they drop to the front, that's fine, that's cool. But if you're at the top, you're going to just get a little bit more of engagement of a stretch through the front there. And I'm just rotating the elbows up and back. And the other way. Cool. And then I'm going to come up and over. So all of these, of course, are working the shoulder girdle, getting some stretch and freedom and movement through there. So it comes up and over, it just brushes past the opposite ear, and I relax down the weight of the arm, again, just dropping it to the planet using gravity. But I'm starting to not just have a general sense of relaxation, I'm starting to run my mind through in a particular order when I drop the arm. I'm trying to relax shoulder, then the elbow, then the hand to the planet. So I'm starting to have an idea that we can move the awareness through the body in a sequence. Shoulder, elbow, hand. Shoulder, elbow, hand. Shoulder, elbow, hand. Shoulder, elbow, hands drop. Try both together. And we want to keep the head on top of the shoulders. So doing our best not to accommodate the hands with the head. At the same time, not really kind of being so stiff and forceful. Oh, I've got to keep my head there. Kind of finding a happy medium. One more. Cool. So then let's put a foot forwards. And I'm going to shift from back foot to front foot to back foot to front foot. And as that's happening, I start to add a bit of momentum in the arm. I'm trying to get it going from the shift backwards and forwards, connecting to the front foot, connect to the back foot, turning the body, turn the torso as that's occurring. And it's those two things, the shift and the turn, that start to swing the arm. Again, thinking about letting it go, lengthening it, Maybe feeling it through the shoulder blade, even in the lats. A little stretch, and then it goes up and over, and then just drop it. Like you cut the cord, and it drops. Trying not to bunch the shoulder up to get around, almost like you bypass the shoulder, so you get some movement through it, but not tense lifting. Try the other way. Okay, so we change the foot, change the arm, shift backwards and forwards, ride that movement with the arm, a little bit of impetus to get it going. And it's part of that flow of backwards, forwards and turn. So you go into the arm and the shoulder more and more, release it, and then up and over. In all of these, try not to hold the breath. Okay. So we're going to get into the sides, into the ribs and the neck and the shoulders again. This time, with the toes forwards, we just lift up. So you have an engagement. Nothing's really stretching that much yet, but it feels engaged. And then I go over. Very simple side bend. And then bring the hand back up and over, but keep the head relaxing down. And then use the weight of the arm coming back down to pull the head back. So we have engagement. And the stretch through. We'll see how far that stretch goes. See if you can get it from foot to hand. If not, maybe just through the ribs. So we have the side there, and we come up. And then as the hand drops down, you start to feel it pull through the neck and shoulders, stretching, and use it, stretching to come back up. So you don't need to stay there. You just feel the stretch and let it transform into an unstretch. So from here, we would breathe in, breathing out. One more either side. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and good. Okay. And then we're just going to work a very basic stretch through the whole of the front sheet of the body as much as we can engage, and the back all the way through to the head neck connection. So we're going to do the back part first. So if you just watch before we do it, I just drop my chin to my chest as I sit into my hips. So the knees will bend like I'm about to sit on a little bar stool, but then I curve over till I get to what feels at least like a C shape. So if I go too deep, I don't get the upper back. If I go too shallow, I don't get the lower back. So I want to feel like that C shape is there. Then we just hang out there, relaxing and opening the back a bit. And then when we're ready, we'll come up, rolling the spine up, piece by piece by piece. By the time we get to the chest, we'll pull it up, let the hands go out, and we'll lift up from the chest, looking up with the teeth together. So then we'll have that front sheet being stretched. Okay, so chin down, sit down, fold into a C shape, and we'll stay here for a few breaths at least. Let the arms hang, let the head hang. I'm sure if you have injuries or limitations that you're managing them, that you're sensible, you're going within a soft range here. Letting go even in the legs. Feeling the support of the floor, through the feet to the legs, all the way back up to the spine. And then use that support to press into the floor, come up to the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs, to the hips. Start to roll your spine up from the bottom, through the thoracic, all the way to the top, lifting up in the chest, opening up the arms. Fingers are going down, pointing down into the planet, down and out. Look up, teeth together, should feel quite light. Stretching through the neck, chest, front of the shoulders. Maybe even if you're lifting and you're being light, you've got some stretch to the hip area. And we repeat. Just drop the chin, sit down, roll over, get down there. So continuing now to develop the awareness, the listening quality. Chinese word for that is ting, and an intention or an ability to command something to go on. So command some release. So of course you can't force release. So we're trying to settle into that release through the back, through the head, neck, through the arms. Feeling our way through. And then press the feet into the floor. Come up to the ankles, the calves, the knees, thighs, to the hips. Rolling the spine up. This time, instead of opening the arms out, pull them up like you're zipping up. And you're lifting up to the spine. Literally, it's creating more space in the spine by pulling up with your hands. Lift the spine up and open gently, even pulling it up with the fingers. A very, very gentle curve in the spine backwards, but not jamming into the lumbar. So we're looking more for openness than a strong extension. And relax the arms down. Usually the next one we're going to some squats, but I don't know who's with me today, so we're doing that quite a shallow one. So we're going to go into there, into that inguinal groove. So the Chinese word for that is qua. It's like the whole hip complex, the soft tissue around the hip as well as the actual joint. So we're going to sit into there, and you can see this time my toes are going outwards a little bit. It's slightly wider than shoulder width. And I just sit in. As I sit in, I've got my hands in there to feel the articulation. I'm trying to keep my spine like it's connected up together so that nothing is now dropping off anywhere, hopefully. Just sitting in. We're not going to go much deeper than this. I want you to feel that you can actually sit into your hips. Just come back up again. And back down. So I want you to sit into the hips by relaxing. If you sit onto a chair, you don't do like a squat down into the chair. You let go into the chair, which is why you fall over if someone pulls the chair away. So one more time, we'll come up. And I want you to explore relaxing in the legs, relaxing in the body, creating that lowering and sitting. Of course, you can't relax them fully, otherwise you will fall over, but you're turning them off to a degree. And back. Okay. So we'll move on in a second into the actual foundation Qigong. So I call it the foundation Qigong, just to make it a differential, that It's Shibashi, the Shibashi form, which means the 18 movement Tai Chi Qigong form, is very popular. But I've used it to create a good base material for them to actually learn Tai Chi proper. But any questions, any queries right now before we move on? Okay, I'll take that silence as all good. All right. So, toes forwards, about shoulder width, or even better, if you're struggling to relax in the hips, put them hip width. So when we sit down, there's like a lovely straight line from the hips, through the body, through the hips, through the knees to the feet. So we don't want to sit in the knees. We don't want to brace. We just want to relax and let any weight drop down through the joints to the floor. Through the joints, not to the joints. Through the relaxing muscles, not getting stuck. So the two kind of cardinal big errors is misalignment and tension. So the correct structure will help eliminate holding in the body. If I'm not vertical and I'm leaning back, then I have to use muscles to kind of keep me there. So if I get back into a vertical position, I can start to let the muscles go a little bit, and they feel like they're cascading down to the body, to the floor. That's the idea. So, but we'll look at that as we go through each particular movement. So that's the base sorted out. If you take your mind to the crown, your rear crown, so we want that uppermost. To get this part up and having a sense of it being pulled up and suspended, it's actually easier to get the bones above the ears and have a sense that you're being pulled up from there. Because what that does is it tucks the chin ever so slightly. So the vertebrae open, lengthen. It's like you're meeting a bit of space at the back of the head there. And now you've got the crown uppermost, having a sense it's being pulled up. But make that gentle. The reason why we want the sitting and the pulling going on at the same time is so now, besides if you want to go kind of a bit deeper, that we're now between heaven and earth, it's actually opening the spine, so we have a degree of decompression in the spine and elasticity. So we're sitting, and that creates a dropping in the tail while the crown is going up. Okay. As we sit, we have a sense then that our center of gravity lowers into the dantian. And when I was talking about vertical, it's actually my spine that I'm trying to arrange into optimal verticality. So because the spine is relatively at the back of us, we have a rib cage more anterior. So it's not about arranging your torso vertical, because your spine will actually be kind of leaning back a bit. We want the spine to be vertical as best as we can get it. And then let's leave it alone. It's like, for me, my personal trajectory through the arts is the more I micromanage things, it actually creates a lot of tension that you then have to try and eliminate. So have the idea of vertical, and then let's forget about it for the time being. Okay. So we go into the first movement, which is coming up in the legs. They're not locking, but they straighten up a little bit, and the hands come up. And then I relax down in the legs, especially starting that relaxation in the hips, and the hands drop down. So that's it. That's the first movement, and we'll stay with that for a few minutes. It's a pretty simple movement. Harmonize the down in the legs with the down in the hands. course, that you, as you get better at it, you start to pay more attention to that idea of the structure. And the muscles now relaxing. So the muscles are relaxing like like the flesh of a chicken melting off the bone in a hot pot. It's like they're really just starting to separate from the bone to the point, you might feel it more on the downwards movement, that they start to feel like they're really just all getting down, 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 down to the floor. So your feet might feel quite pressurized at that point. So it's about what's going on, what we're trying to get going on the inside, rather than just repeating a simple movement. So breathing in at this point, or rather moving up as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, the hands are dropping down. So there's a harmony between the movement and the breath. Certainly not trying to control the breath. Just a couple more things that are kind of pretty important. The palm. We have, we refer to that as Lao Gong. It translates as place of weariness, the point that I would needle here, which needs to be quite accurate. But for us in Qigong right now, just the whole of the palm, we want to sense that it's just open and spread. So the fingers pull it open a little bit, but it's relaxed. It's not like, ugh. It's just pulsed open a little bit, and we try and keep it open. So it's starting to pull the tissues as we relax the muscles. It's pulling everything else a little bit taut. It's pulling it to the extremities. Yeah. And that pressurization in the feet opens the feet up in the same way that you're opening the hands up. So now we're starting to open up the channels, as it were. We'll move on from this one in a minute. I'm just trying to set up as much information for you and just give a taster of why and what we do. So I drop in the hips, I relax the hips, and so the tailbone drops down away from that vertical spine, and it pulls the head down. So now to keep the spine open and decompressed, I send my mind up to the crown, and it's the crown that begins the lifting up. So then the tail has to follow. So all the time, the spine is staying nice and open. We breathe in. We breathe out. Okay. So we're going to flow on to the next one. So it moves on in the sequence from here. We turn the hands towards the body, and then we open out. Coming back in, and we sit down. So we have the up and open, all as part of the in-breath, the close towards each other in the hands, and then down, harmonize with the out-breath. So all of this is in-breath and out-breath, finishes here. Or rather, we finish there on the last bit of the out-breath. We still have Lao Gong, that palm open. We're still noticing the weight change and the pressure change in the feet. But now I want you to have more of a sense that you lift your center of gravity up just by standing up. So it comes into the chest. So your mind is in the chest. And let it open from the inside. Let it open out all the way through to the fingers and the palm. Then you can bring your mind slowly back into the chest. And let that center of gravity help you find your way down through the body, down into the dantian. So we come up into the chest, but the chest is relaxed, totally undisturbed. And we let it open out gently with the mind and the movement. And so we have breathing in. The mind's in the chest. The mind expands the chest open gently, like a flower opening. Closing back in, mind coming into the chest and down. So because I'm not treating people at the moment, my clinic's closed. Some of my patients have been having consults with me where we go through Qigong instead. And I definitely include this one for a lot of people as it brings an awareness into the heart area. And it gives a sense of an anchoring to the heart. So when there are heart issues, as in heart chi issues, not necessarily a physiological structural complaint in the heart, you're going to get a fair bit of anxiety, insomnia, quite unsettled, often with dream disturbed sleep. This one would be good to bring into your practice for that. Just going to shift into this movement. The hands cross and we come up. We open up and we sit down. So the hands cross. The crossed wrists actually come up the center. We open out without lifting the shoulders too much. And we relax in the hips and we drop down. So we still work with relaxing the hips, which draws the head down, spine stays open and decompressed. So the Qigong is the way that I teach it with this particular form. It's a nice combination of the movement, the mobility, how we're trying to get the arrangement of the structure, having some harmony in the movements, and starting to also have an appreciation of the chi as well. So on a structural level, on that harmony kind of level, what I bring in here is, as I relax down in the hips, I'm also relaxing the shoulders. As I get down through to the knees, I'm also relaxing the elbows. As I get to the feet, I'm also relaxing the hands. So we refer to those pairings on a very basic level as the 6 harmonies. 3 pairs, hips and shoulders relax, knees and elbows relax, feet and hands relax. So first pair, second pair, feet and hands as the 3rd pair. When we start to look at it more from becoming a bit less mechanical and structural, having a sense that you can draw down from the heavens, the yang chi of the heavens, down through the crown, down through the body, out to the feet into the ground, and then pull up from the ground, through the body, out through the crown into the heavens. So we have that balancing of yin and yang, down from the heavens, yang, up from the earth, which is a way more yin deal. In my experience though, that is nice, but doesn't really work as well if the body's not prepared. So going back to that mechanical arrangement of vertical, relaxing the muscles, open spine. And in this case, moving down to the harmonies, hips and shoulders, knees and elbows, feet and hands. Just bring the hands up so the palms are facing each other. And so now I'm just going to turn. If I turn to my left, I drop my left hand and it starts to send the right hand out towards where I was facing. And then the hand that was dropped swings up and out. And then I turn back. As I turn back, it drops the hand over by the ear. Continue to turn forwards and it swoops down. So we've got a pushing movement and the other hand is coming in towards my quad, towards the hip area. And then it drops and swings to the back as I turn. So we finish up there with both arms out, hopefully at the same height, palms up. Yeah. And then I turn back and push forwards. So as we continue to map the body and bring a stronger awareness of Laogong, the palm open, staying open. Stronger sensation, particularly when I drop down a little bit here into the feet. So they're mimicking the hands being opened. Just by the pressure of the body running through them. So the corresponding point on the foot, we refer to as bubbling well, the first point on the kidney channel. And it's underneath the ball of the foot. So deeper into the towards the middle of the foot on the midline, past the ball of the foot. That's bubbling well, first point on the kidney channel. So you can have your mind there and in Laogong. So we're starting to expand our conscious net. And I also want you to see if you can put your mind into your armpits and have a sense that they're opening up in the same way that maybe your chest felt a little bit opened from that one. Having a sense that the armpits are open and up. So that's 6 places so far: palms, feet, armpits. And a sense that the hips are free and pliable and open. So that's 8 places, sorry. One of the teachers that I've learnt from refers to that as like the 8 gates. So we're opening the 8 gates right now. The breathing and the movement harmonizes with in-breath here, turning to the front on the out-breath. So a lot of what we've done, this one, and this one, we've naturally breathed in as the body's been open and had more space. On this one, we're actually breathing in when there's a rotation. This feels like a relative restriction in the ribs because of the way that we're moving. So that creates an internal pressure. So it's the way it's working on with the breath in, with less space. There's a little bit of inside massage for the organs. We don't need to do anything about that. That's just occurring. Just let the hands drop. And then bring them up, over, and sit down. If you can though, sit down deeper into the hips. So it's a little bit squat-like in the shape and in the movement. We're trying to get there via relaxation. We come up. And then down. And you can see that as I squat down, my hands haven't dropped fully at that point because I'm trying to open spread the lower back. Not this time by doing that kind of thing. It just arms coordinating there with a little incline, has that spreading effect in the tissues. So one of the phrases within classical Tai Chi writings is pulling silk. You want to move like you're pulling silk. So that's unbroken, not jerking and breaking it. But they were also referring to the silk of the body. So if you think about anatomy textbooks or models, in that lower area there, from the red tissue, the muscles, you see a lot of white stuff. That's the silk. So that's what we're pulling there. And all the other silk in the body, all the connective fascia-like tissue, we're really trying to engage with by turning the muscles off so we get more access to the fascia. And we move in a way that we can continue to connect with that and pull the silk. This movement, often referred to as rowing a boat, has a strong water connotation, water element. Again, opening in the lumbar area, helping, assisting the kidney energy. And you can also have water imagery. I think we have to be careful with imagery because we can imagine anything, but if it leads us to a tangible sensation, that's good. So if we're feeling hot, agitated, full, we can draw in water, cooling spring water through bubbling well, that kidney point in the foot, and then let it wash back down and through, back down into the ground, taking some of that extra heat, agitation away. That's when there's a lot of fullness, accumulation. Often though, we need to be replenished. So you can think of warm water, again coming up from bubbling well, and leaving some of its warmth in the body. And we're back also now to breathing in as the body has more space, breathing out as the body has more space. And then just let the hands drop down. Just let them drop by the sides. Make sure your toes are still facing forwards, about shoulder width or hip width. So that chunk of the foundation form is very much getting things open, correct alignment as far as Tai Chi is concerned, and a general feeling of connecting the body up via relaxing and starting to pull that silk. After that, there's lots of stretchy stuff and flowing stuff, which is more about the circulation then. But we'll leave it there for the foundation form. And so I want you to feel all of that work now in standing meditation. So you're back to feeling the hip area, having the crown suspended, that chin tucked ever so slightly, with the crown being pulled up like it's hooked onto a helicopter. And the easiest way to do that is have the sensation that you're being pulled up from the bones above the head, above the ears rather. You sit down from that point, you sit down away from it, but try not to do any holding. It's a really difficult ask actually. It's incredibly difficult to get that going on while you're relaxing down without being tense. You might shrug your shoulders up and back and let the shoulders just rest while the fingers are at the sides of the legs and the middle finger is on the seam of the trousers or where it would be. Hips are relaxed. You're being vertical and you have a sense that your weight is going all the way through, down through the joints, past the joints to the feet. Just taking your time to feel all of that. Feeling the second exercise, which was this one. How the inside now, the inside of the chest is relaxing down into the belly. Anchoring. Feeling the third one we did, which was in the harmonies of the shoulders and hips, knees and elbows, feet and hands. But particularly the shoulders are able to relax. And then there was the one that's based on repulsed monkey from Tai Chi form practice. That you're opening the 8 gates, where it allows you to work at that level. So your palms feel engaged, feet feel engaged, hips are alive and open, armpits are open. It doesn't mean you need to do this kind of thing. It's just your mind gently opens them. And then that last one, pulling the silk, especially of the lower back. So let the back have a sense now that it's able to spread. Even if you don't really change your shape, you're letting go, letting it spread a little bit. So there's no holding. So I'd like us to just kind of work with that now. Now you're arranged quite well. Let all that run in the background. Now, if you're in the classes, my classes, we might spend way more time looking at those areas, getting them into a decent condition. But we're just going to go and use the mind for one last thing. And that is combine it with the in-breath. Your in-breath, allowing your mind to come all the way up to the crown, suspended. And then your out-breath is engaged with your awareness and your intention to relax the muscles off the bone, and you move down through the body. By the time you finish your out-breath, you've relaxed all the way through to the feet, letting go of all the muscles. So each in-breath tracks up all the way up to the crown, each out-breath all around the body, front, back, sides, is melting down the muscles. I'm not going to ask you to move around or anything, so you can close the eyes if your balance is good. And you can really let the eyes become part of that deal of relaxing. You can really let them relax in the sockets. Let the eyeballs soften as they rest in the sockets. Okay. Just start to move a little bit. Even though we've been freeing the body up, it's just like something happens where we feel like we need to actually kind of let things just move how they want to move. So we'll do that. Okay. I make that like 5 minutes to go. So are there any questions? If you do have any questions, I'm sure Nina has got my, I've got my details. If you want to join my free warm-ups each weekday, you're welcome to do that. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks very much, John.
Pleasure.
It was really, really, very grounding, and yeah, I felt very, very connecting. So thank you.
Good. Pleasure. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
You too. You too. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, and if possible, to get that link for your daily thing somehow, I don't know, but yeah, that would be good.
Okay, cool. I'll just kind of hang out and let's see if Nina contacts me. No, we can get it to you.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Bye.
Take care.
You too. Thanks.
Okay.